There's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP Morning Show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. A little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP. Hey, Gumpers.
Hola, bon dia, alegria. Munson here from expatsportugal.com with the Good Morning Portugal show, live stream and podcast. How are you this morning? Well, I hope. Ian Turner, apologies, says Ian. AWOL yesterday, absent without leave. You don't need a note. You don't need to bring a note. It's just nice to find out what actually happened, and we're finding out what actually happened here from me. And apologies for being AWOL yesterday, but was en route Commonwealth Games for the athletics. Good seats, great athletics, and a fantastic crowd. Yes, did you get any video footage for us, Coach Turner? And are you inspired by what you saw to bring us a lovely God Squad, growing old disgracefully tip of the day today for those bon viveurs who like a little bit of gentle fitness and a balanced approach to loving life and staying fit and healthy. That's what the Coach Turner does for us. And sounds like you had a great day yesterday. Love a pick or two. I've never been to an athletics meeting in my whole life. And look, no sooner have I asked or prodded in that general direction. And my goodness, yes, my eyes are looking like the proverbial holes in the snow, I think, this morning. I can explain, and I will do in just a moment. Talk about bon viveur. I had two magnificent meals yesterday. What a great day it was, and I want to share. I was going to say share them with you. It's a bit too late for that, but I do have a lovely photograph of an amazing lunch, which I must commend to you in Caldas de Rainha, here on the Silver Coast. But let's get started then with the God Squad tip of the day. Thanks to Ian. A busy schedule and still managing to inspire us with inspiration and information like this. After this. Growing old disgracefully then with Coach Turner. Great athletes, says Ian, have to have the right mindset, and that includes being quite selfish. Ooh, interesting. Don't be like that. Don't be an athlete. Be generous with your time and affections, and well-being will come to you. That's an interesting twist, isn't it? On that, I wonder. It is seen to be a terrible unvirtue, if I can, or sin. A narcissistic approach isn't to be selfish, but you've got to have good boundaries as well, haven't you? This is an interesting conversation around not the dinner tables. I don't have many dinner parties, but I think in everyday conversation, people talk more and more about boundaries. When are boundaries selfish, and when are they not? And I didn't expect to be talking about this today. I expect to be talking about Portugal, of course, every morning here from 8:30 in the morning until around about 10 o'clock with a fantastic guest like Michael Heron, who will be joining us at 9. And of course, on a Wednesday, it is Ask Anything About Portugal Day. And Michael Heron, ever popular, authoritative, funny, handsome as well. My goodness, handsome Heronius Maximus will be with us from around 9 this morning. I suspect as a football and sports fan, he'll have something to say, probably about the Commonwealth Games and certainly about the women's football. It came home for the Brits, didn't it? They think it's all over. It is, Frau. I should be saying that again when Michael's here later on today. So from 9, Michael Heronius Maximus. And yes, and selfishness. I think it's quite an interesting thing, that, isn't it? Because it is an expat issue. Moving away from friends and family could seem to be quite selfish, couldn't it? Let me know what your thoughts are on that, as well as anything in the news at the moment. Michael and I might be tempted to look at the Portugal news and the Portugal residents for a little bit of conversational stimulation. Sometimes we intend to do that and never get round to it. Tuit. We never get around to it. Hopefully you might get around to it one of these days in your Christmas stocking. It's too early for that sort of talk. But yeah, Michael Heronius Maximus with me at 9. Might talk about Portuguese news. Might not if we get distracted by you, because I do want to share with you some, one particular picture of the lunch I had yesterday. For anyone who claims that Portugal's cuisine is not in any way, high end's not the right word, because to me, Portuguese cuisine is high end in the right ways. It's, it ticks the boxes of great flavor, simplicity, often usually cooked with love and attention, but not so much so that the people cooking it are putting their personalities before the food, as is the way, isn't it, in so much global cuisine now, or the added value, I suppose you'd call it. But there is a notable exception that I want to share with you a little bit later on, after we've seen who's in this morning. Deagle's in from Belfast. How are you there? Weather report from Belfast. We'll come back to that in more detail. Thank you. We hear from correspondents in Belfast, in Sweden, and Canada this morning, which is great. Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Suze, as well, for sending some pickies. And thank you, Deagle, for keeping us in touch with what's going on in Belfast. And so interesting yesterday to see that Belfast had referenced Lisbon in terms of city development and, aspirational thinking. And Belfast citing Lisbon as an example with that. A Mark Twain quote of the day and a dad joke, warning to come, because there is a dad joke that I missed yesterday. Busy day, wasn't it? Yeah, I mean, it's always a busy day now, isn't it, on the Good Morning Portugal show? Anyway, bon dia, alegria to you, wherever you are in the world. Antonio F is with us as well as the mellow yellow banana slug this morning in Ericeira. Stephen Wells is in. How are you, Stephen? And as I saw your name in the chat, I was thinking, well, how are Stephen's Portugal plans? I wonder. And I don't even know, actually, Stephen, how strong your intentions are to move to Portugal, or if it's just that you like hanging out with the Lucophiles and the friends you've made in this environment. Remind me if you want to. It's not compulsory, but it just occurred to me, Stephen, Portugal, what is the connection there? But either way, always great to have your company and your erudite insight on matters, and maybe tell us a little bit about your business as well, because I'm fascinated by what you do, as well as your intentions around Portugal. Anna Olsen is here. Got a picture from Anna in just a moment. Capricorn Chris is here. Jean, too, and Elra. Elra, where have you been? And Pamela, I was going to ask you about this. You very kindly sent in news of the Alcobaça meetup. And that was this image that you sent in. Want to connect with Alcobaça's international community? Well, you just missed it. It was yesterday. We have our meetup in San Martinho de Porto. I feel a little bit wrong, Pam, for calling it the Silver Coast meetup lunchtime today, when of course now there is your meeting here, you and friends over in Alcobaça, Tuesdays, Parque Verde. It's a great place to meet. Love Parque Verde. Not going to see the monastery from there, are you? Or maybe just the rooftops. 3 till 5, all welcome. How was it? Well, excellent restart to the Alcobaça International Meetup yesterday. Glad to hear it, Pam. And what a lovely network we have then of meetups on the Silver Coast. Today, San Martinho de Porto. Tuesdays, I suspect, I as I recall from our communication, you do intend to meet every week in Alcobaça. So Tuesdays, Alcobaça, San Martinho de Porto. Wednesdays, fantastic. Thank you, Ian, for that video of the Commonwealth Games. If you've ever wondered what the atmosphere is like at the Commonwealth Games, I think we've got some long jumpers or long jumpers. It does change depending on where you put the emphasis on those two words, doesn't it? We will have a little bit of video of long jumpers preparing. There's the atmosphere. Wow, what an atmosphere that is. So we'll give you that in just a moment, as well as a video of the Atlantic. Love the Atlantic, where it meets Foz de Relio at the Óbidos Lagoon. Got a little video of that for you this morning as well. So just downloading that. Thank you very much, Coach Turner, for your coverage of the Commonwealth Games there. Watch out, BBC, Sky Sports, and all the rest of you. Adrian Wyatt is here as well this morning. Good morning. Nice to see you here, Adrian. Anything in the Coimbra area? Do you mean meetups? Well, the rule here, Adrian, is if you ask if there's a meetup somewhere and there isn't one, you then have to start one. Is that okay with you, Adrian Wyatt? I'm sure there are meetups in Coimbra. Yes, I did hear of one when I lived over that way. I think it was an American group primarily, but I'm sure they'll be open to anyone joining them. So, Adrian, Please help Adrian this morning, everybody. If you know of anything in the Coimbra area, let me just put your comment on the screen, Adrian. Great to have you here. Anything in that area, please let us know and we'll pass it on to Adrian or post it up in the forum, expatsportugal.com/community. Stick it in there. Pips is with us as well from Botswana. Bon dia, todos os campos. Good morning to you, Pips. How are you doing? Let's have a look at a couple of vids, though, as promised. It's got a little bit of tea to drink, you see. We have Atlantic Coast meeting Obidos Lagoon here. Captured yesterday on my way to a very fine lunch with the colleagues, with the team, with Jerry and Astrid in Caldas and the place of the cabbage plate. I was trying to explain to my in-laws with whom I had a most amazing evening meal yesterday. I mean, honestly, I talk about bon vivant. I had 2 fantastic meals today. Lovely day yesterday. This part of it, driving along, taking the rallies along the Atlantic Road from San Martino de Porto to Foz de Relha on the way to Caldas de Rainha. And of course, you have to stop to take this in along the way. That was over too quickly, wasn't it? A lovely view there, though, of the Atlantic. Blustery, breezy, of course. And as you pan left, as you pan to the south towards the view of Peniche and the Belinga Islands, you're seeing the Obidos Lagoon, which didn't do that justice there. There are people surfing and enjoying the sand. And that Obidos Lagoon goes for miles inland. We must do more about the Obidos Lagoon at some point. So, yeah, lovely little vid that, even if I say so myself, on the way to Caldas de Rainha yesterday. And I will show you that amazing lunch and the incredible menu of the hotel and restaurant I would recommend to you. Here's a little bit of action from the Commonwealth Games then, if you've ever wondered. Like I said before, I've never been to an athletics meetup, quite unlike the Coach Turner, who's been to thousands, I suspect.
They always make the most of that. The logic.
Listen to that atmosphere. That's fantastic. Any notable results? Any records broken yet, Coach Turner? Do let us know. We know we know that you have your keen eye on that. Amelie in today. And Stephen answering the question there, if you've ever wondered yourself, what is the connection between that Wells fella and Portugal? Goal is to be in Portugal probably in 12 to 18 months, stuff to get lined up before it can happen. Okay, well, you know where we are if you need us for any part of that process, Stephen. Lovely to have you as part of this community. I haven't told you that lately, have I? And if anyone is feeling neglected and is in need of a virtual hug this morning or wants to reinstate or remind us what their connection is with Portugal, please do so in the chat. Virtual hugs, free this morning. Special offer, two for the price of one. Bon dia todos from Jess as well and Gary Orgles. Bon dia, let's welcome in a wonderful Wednesday to everyone. But not China. Oh, come on. You're just talking about a few men there, aren't you? A few sexually frustrated warmongers, I suspect, if I know what you're talking about there. We can't say not China and all the people, everyday normal people like us around the world. It's just all these I'm going to call them idiots who in inverted commas run countries, taking advantage of the power that goes to their heads in such a situation. Gary Orgles, come on. Big hugs to the Chinese, apart from the warmongering, narcissistic. I got to be careful what I say, or I'm going to move on. I don't want my social credit score damaged in any way, should I ever emigrate to China. A little bit unlikely. Sometimes a real one too. What's that? Oh, always in need of a virtual hug. Well, here we go. Did you feel that, Amelie? Especially for you. Abraços a todos as well. Virtual hugs. Okay, another one for everybody. That feels better. I tell you what, though, and this will be maybe of some comfort to those listening who don't gravitate towards the hug. There are the hippie huggers, aren't there, who get hold of you and they don't let you go. And they're lining up their heart chakra with yours because you've got to get the hug. You know, I've got mixed heritage, and part of my heritage is from the Far East, and I don't have the Far Eastern folks down, or certainly the part of the world where my ancestors appear to come from there, as a big huggers, and neither actually. If I go for sort of Irish / Chinese ancestry, I suppose the Irish are quite good huggers, aren't they? But anyway, in my family, hugging was not the thing as I was growing up. And I had to embrace it. Hey, pardon the pun. And I did, because I began to move in more sort of hippie-ish circles as I was growing up. The sort of thing, me and James on that sort of page in life. And I did get into hugging, and I would like to think that I introduced it into my family and started hugging my parents far more than I remember them, being touchy-feely myself growing up. So I'd like to think that I introduced that into my family. But I'm not super hugger like some people are. These hippie huggers who get hold of you and don't seem to want to let you go. Joe Biden comes to mind. Have you seen him hugging? She called Hillary Clinton. That's hilarious. Saw that little clip last night. Some people hug you just a little bit too long, don't they? But I think there's probably in terms of the balance in the world, there probably isn't enough hugging. And it's a great thing to do, isn't it? What's this? Neither you or I have the hair to be hippies, but we've got the hearts. We've got the hearts to be hippies. You're quite right, Stephen. Our long flowing locks are not going to be hanging down over our Afghan waistcoats, are they? And cheesecloth shirts with the whiff of Nag Champa incense wafting behind us. But yes, whatever the stereotype that you feel most fitting for you, another quick virtual hug for everybody. No, not quick. An appropriately timed hug. Not too long where you're thinking, oh my God, is this person going to ever let go of me and stop whispering things in my ear like namaste and om shanti? And not like those awkward ones either. No no offense to anyone, but people who aren't used to hugging, it can be a little bit awkward, can't it? Portuguese are going, oh, what happened there? We've lost the camera for some reason. Looks like your camera was unplugged, it says. I'm just a vibrating porthole now. Plug it back in or select a different camera. Okay, well, I honestly, I'm talking about hugging. No, it was talking about the Chinese earlier on, wasn't it? So we've got a different camera now, and we've lost the Oh my goodness, what's happening this morning? Do not talk about China, because weird things happen on the show when you do that. No more, no more about China, please. Nobody mention China. Oh, Adrian, it's not going to help. We need to support peace, including in China. Well done. My father, half English, half Highland Scottish. This is excellent. Yeah, that wasn't a flattering angle, was it? I really don't know what happened there. That that Huawei phone I just got, maybe that was something to do with it. My father was born in Hong Kong. Thank you, Adrian. I'm a bit confused. Where was I? I was talking about hugging, wasn't I? And I was going to give everybody an appropriately timed virtual hug. Not too clingy. Not too clingy when you're trying to get away. Okay, it's been 20 seconds now. I think my endorphins and serotonin levels are fine. Thank you. Get off. And not one of those, this is so awkward. I can't do this sort of hugs either. So here we go. Ready for this, everybody? There you go. Okay, igualmente on abrazos growing up. Okay, you and me just got so much in common. Didn't know how much I was missing it until I rediscovered hugging much later in life. Very interesting. Didn't know we were going to be talking about athletics at the level we were this morning, or hugging, or ancestry. Very interesting. Okay, you have degenerated. What? My camera angle. Oh no, this is at Elra. Okay, I must have some Asian in me then. Ooh, who doesn't like a bit of Asian in them first thing in the morning? Elra, you rascal. Okay, I think we've peaked a bit early on a particular part of the comments this morning, because there were some that I'd missed, dad jokes I've missed, and that cannot happen. About 11 minutes to go until we're joined by Michael Heron. We might look at the Portugal news and the Portugal resident. We might not if you distract us. I mean, and there's a very good chance of that this morning, judging by what's gone on already. Let's rewind, shall we? Bon dia, Carl and Gumpers. Great damp in Belfast. Light rain overnight. Looks like a nice weekend. Low 20s, sadly. No, low 20s, full stop. Sadly, I'm working Friday, Saturday, Sunday nights, so we'll miss the nice weather. Well, someone's got to do it. Someone's got to keep the economy going. You and BP, keeping all that money going into the economy. Yeah, right. In the case of BP, you are doing an honest weekend's work there. And shout out to all the people working shifts and working at weekends who are doing real work and keeping life going for others on this planet. Well done, Deagle. Bon dia, Gumpers. Feliz tarde a todos. Como tem passado? I'm going back to James's greeting this morning with a Mark Twain quote of the day. I reckon I no sense when I sees it. And they in no sense in six doing as that. thank you very much for that. I don't know what happened there. I don't know if that was a good Mark Twain impersonation, probably not. And I'm really not sure what this means. I need a translation. I do not speak Huckleberry Finn as well as you might, James. I reckon I know sense when I sees it, right? I could get that bit. And there ain't no sense in six doing as that. What is six doings as that? There's a little bit of German in that. I need a a translation, please, everybody. Help me out. And one of these, watch out.
Warning.
Oh, yes. DJ Redux W missed from yesterday. I'm not sure what that means either. Anyway, the point is a boy became very upset. Oh, I'm sorry to hear this. Another counseling client for James, I think. A boy became very upset when he asked his father to tell him what a solar eclipse was. And all his father said was, "No, son." Bon dia todos from Antonio from earlier on this morning. Misty morning, says Antonio F. That's right, Slick. Oh, James, stop it with the long, confusing names. I think, yes, a moist morning here in this part of the Silver Coast. I did take a picture of actually some massive dewdrops on a canna plant, which I haven't loaded up yet. But suffice to say, pretty damp underfoot this morning when I was out with the dogs. Little Peggy doesn't like walking through the long grass when it's wet. And it's one of those mornings, a Peggy wet belly alert this morning, everybody. What's he talking about now? Stay tuned. That mystery may be revealed, but then again, it might not. Baldylocks Tony is in. The countdown continues. Are you into your last week yet of your countdown, Tony? I think you're getting there, aren't you? And our Fajr Dear from Chris today. Heart's Desire by Don Blackman. Complete Funk, Rare Groove Royalty. Sunday nights at the Africa Centre. Oh my goodness. The Africa Centre, yes, centre of the world. Loved going there. Did we rub shoulders at that club, Chris? Amazing. In the heart of London with Soul to Soul memories. We were there. I don't think we've talked about this before. That to me is the highlight of my clubbing life in my 20s. There, loved being there with the likes of Jazzy B and H. And Trevor the Mad Hatter was there, wasn't he? And I think even Judge Jules played a little bit there before he became a massive BBC Radio 1 sensation. Gene is in this morning. Thanks for that, Chris. Hola, boa madrugada a todos. A happy dawn there in New Jersey. How are you, Gene? When are you back in the country, Gene? And Connie is in. Keep the noise down. Hank still. But our special guests, where are we? Wednesday. Yes, tomorrow evening, webinar, the first Thursday of the month. It is our social and a chance to connect with people newly arrived to Portugal. And who better to talk about that with their wonderful arc of progression and life transformation coming from the United States to Portugal. Connie and Hank Stalika, I'll present them to you formally. Actually, it's quite an informal atmosphere, isn't it, on the first Thursday gig, and a nice social meetup and a chance to ask questions of real people who've had the real experience of moving to Portugal. And so ask them about all the ups and downs of that, the whole process of deciding, of moving, of all the bureaucracy, and finally ending up in Portugal, as Connie and Hank actually have done now. A chance to talk to them tomorrow night from 7:30. Hola to you all, says Connie. It's overcast and misty here in Gaia. So I think it's like that around the country. I suspect, though, that will lift. The mist will be burnt away by bright sunshine. We can have a look at the weather later as well, if you like. Too. So I'm glad to hear that, Pam, that it was a good meetup yesterday in Alcobaça. We'll have one in San Martin. You can just go from meetup to meetup at some point in the future, I'm sure. So we'll see you at Palmeira today. If you're coming to the Wednesday meetup here in San Martin de Porto, we'll see you at Nelson's Palmeira for a lovely view of the beach and some of his lovely home-cooked, quite a varied menu. I don't know how he does it. I don't know how him and his team do it. They're a tiny kitchen producing an incredible wide range of fabulous food. I've got more fabulous. I know I keep promising this, but I do have some fabulous food to share with you that's a little bit different. I'm going to wait for Michael to join us before I reveal that, I think. And it was the same in Sintra at 7 a.m. Antonio up and on the road early, I think. And Lisbon is a bit cloudy now. So from Sintra to the Portugal's capital, Lisboa, a little bit cloudy at the moment. I suspect that's going to give way to some sunshine later on today, one of those 300 days of the stuff. And yes, Adrian is in. Still asking that question then. I will come back to that. It is Ask Anything About Portugal Wednesday. We need to satisfy that inquiry from Adrian. And I'm not going to mention the trouble started when I mentioned your comment, Gary, and your refusal to hug billions of people. Hola. Yeah, I guess it would keep you busy, wouldn't it? Hola from Amelie in Korea this morning. And what is this? She says, goes on to say, always in need of a virtual hug, sometimes a real one too. So I'm glad we got around to talking about hugging this morning. Yes, Asians. So I was in danger there, wasn't I, of going into some stereotyping. I was speaking mainly from personal experience. But yes, generally speaking, Asians are not huggers. That is my experience too. Are Koreans not hug people? Asked Antonio. So generally not. I think it's safe to say. And Elra thinking then that's where that comment came from. Elra not a hugger either. Do you think that might change, or does it depend on the contributor? The originator of the hug, Elra, because I think we need to be discerning as well, don't we? Bon dia. What are appropriate thank you gifts? Great question. Thank you for that. I'm going to save that until Michael is here to join me and give a sensible answer on that too. Can't guarantee it, but we'll do our best. What are our appropriate thank you gifts to bring from the US to give to hosts and others that give assistance? That is a lovely question to which we will return. And yes, James saying, yeah, similarly, not much hugging going on growing up. And but I think you've caught up. I think you made up for lost time in the hugging department by the sound of it. And yes, global, truly global. Got pictures to show from Canada and Sweden. I'll do that in just a moment. Father born in Hong Kong for the Adrian Wyatt there. And Challenge Day actually teaches you how to give good, proper hugs. Did you know that tuition was available? Somebody I like hugging, Kate. Bon dia, Carl y amigos. Kate is a healer, you know. And you can feel those healing vibes when you have a hug with Kate. She's perfectly sized as well for a hug, if you don't mind me saying so, Kate. Some of those pictures from around the world then, this global mention of China and Hong. I don't want to crash the show again with the Huawei devices tuned in. Really don't know what happened earlier on. Didn't touch anything or do anything, but we had a loss of transmission. Fingers crossed for the rest of the show. But yeah, global mention of Hong Kong, mention of Korea this morning. Let's go to Sweden then and look at a lovely photo from Anna. Anna, thank you for this one. Look at that crystal clear water, or the crystal reflection, barely troubled by a breeze, but just a little bit of a ripple on the water there. And Anna's lovely photo from Sweden this morning. What do you say about that, Anna? Let me just find your message. Thank you to you and all who send pictures in on 913-590-303. Just trying to find out exactly what's going on here. And oh, there you are. Bon dia, Carl. An evening. Oh, that's evening. I've had that down as the morning. An evening view from my place in the archipelago. Now we no, I'm not going to go there. Outside Stockholm, someone has parked her airplane in the sea, traveling in style. And I didn't notice that, but there's are they called seaplanes? That is arriving in style, isn't it? When you can land on the lake. And what happens? Do you have an inflatable raft, or does somebody sail out to get you? I mean, how do you get to the shore once you've landed in style in a seaplane? But lovely. Thank you very much. You're picky there from Stockholm, from Sweden, from yesterday evening, by the sound of it. Here are the wide open plains of Canada. Suze is probably not joining us live, but has been corresponding with the show. Pictures from Canada. We know that, okay, some people are thinking, why are we showing pictures of Stockholm on the Good Morning Portugal show? Well, Anna normally lives in Portugal. This is she's gone kind of home and is sending a postcard back to this home of Portugal, if you see what I mean. And Suze's plans to come to Portugal are not over yet, she tells me this morning. There's Taxi. Suze and Taxi, of course, we followed their journey from Finland through Northern Europe and into Portugal, didn't we? And she's popped back to Canada, and who knows, she might be back in Portugal again someday. And in the meantime, staying in touch with wonderful pictures from Canada. Lovely long shot there. Canada, what a beautiful country you have there. Canada, oh Canada. Thank you very much to both you, Suze, and to you, Anna, for your lovely pictures this morning. And a bonus picture, thank you, Tony. Lovely pickies that came in yesterday from Tony that I was able to show of food and of the Azores. And here, another picture, a sunset, a bonus picture he sent in to me. And this particular place is Ribeira Grande. somewhere in the Azores, one of the Azorean islands there. What a sunset. Look at that glow. There's 2 orbs in the sky there. Ooh, spooky. Okay, spooky goings on. Oh, and while we're in the picture deck, going from one skyline to another, anyone recognize these 2 gentlemen? And of course, using the word gentleman loosely here, there's a Peaky Blinder and a retired lecturer are now enjoying life in Portugal, looking out over the plains of central Portugal from the vantage point that is Alvázora and a wind turbine there. Nice one, gentlemen. That was, of course, Lord Gilchrist and the great Garvo. And there you can see Lord Gilchrist's shadow, a long shadow cast across the ground in front of him as he surveys and takes a picture of central Portugal. I mean, that compares pretty well, doesn't it? I was thinking, Canada, you're looking pretty amazing in this picture from Sue's. But, you know, I think Portugal competes fairly well in the sense of scale and grandeur there when you get to central Portugal and you see a vista like that. Thank you. Very thoughtful, Andy. Thank you very much for that. Keep those pictures coming in, everybody, on 913-590-303. Okay, back to your comments whilst we're waiting for Michael Heronius Maximus to join us. Lee McGrady. Oh, love Eve's little suit that you've dressed her up in to take her out into the big wide world, Lee. How's she doing? How's Sandra? Good morning, people from Lee. And I wonder if Macau are huggers, considering the Portuguese influence. Yes, of course. I've not made good mention of how much the Portuguese like to hug, and then a couple of kisses on each cheek, abraços, of course. And even if they don't hug you, they'll say it, won't they? They'll say beijinhos, abraços to you as well. So the Portuguese definitely huggers. And I want a little bit more insight on the hugging thing. Are you a hugger that goes in where you go to your right of that person, which would be to their left, so the heart chakras can lock? Do you give it that much thought? Or are you a little bit of, if you're a bit inexperienced or uncomfortable hugger, is it like, oh, is that the, and then banging noses and stuff like that as you're trying to kiss people on both cheeks? Bon dia alegria. Cindy's a hugger as well. I know that from personal experience. Hugs to you this morning, Cindy B. Bon dia alegria, Gumpers. If you've just joined us, talking about hugging this morning, among many other things, Commonwealth Games athletics came into the picture, and we will be talking more about Portuguese food as we hang out with Michael Heron and answer the questions that come in on this Wednesday Ask Anything About Portugal Wednesday. Every Wednesday we do this, but with different guests, with different insights. And Pam, in last night's chat club, busy day for you yesterday, Pam. In last night's chat club, we spoke about our favorite town city in Portugal. That's a good conversation, isn't it? We heard about Faro, Alvor, Portimão, Loulé, Porto, and Guimarães. The Algarve, well featured there, right? And that sounds like fun. What's your? Well, I'm guessing, Pam, Alcobaça is your favorite. Muito bem, Carl. I believe I know sense when I see it, and there isn't any sense in such things as that. Okay, that's a kind of American saying then that you might want to apply to quite a lot of what's going on in the world right now. Thank you very much for that Mark Twain quote of the day and your dad joke. Keep those dad jokes coming in. Did I say this one yesterday? We've been to Stockholm this morning. I think I did, but just in case you didn't hear it yesterday, do you know why the Norwegian boats have a barcode on the side of them? Why do Norwegian boats have a barcode on the side? And maybe I didn't answer the question. If I did, please give me the answer. The aim, as far as China is concerned, should be peaceful reunification once the Communist Party has successfully democratically transitioned Italian style into the Democratic Party. Yes, and then the Chinese government can busy themselves with an election every week, can't they? And stop, saber rattling around the world. Perfect. Excellent. Thank you for your geopolitical insight there, Adrian Wyatt, this morning. Well said, sir. It got grey last night. It even looked like it might rain. Yeah, I think there has been some rain overnight here on the Silver Coast. And weather report from Adrian in Coimbra. It's cloudy over there. We're still trying to answer that question. Are there Coimbra meetups? Made contact with Nuno Carl. He's a very nice guy. Are we talking about Nuno Mendes, our man from Winsurance? That description does fit the bill. Nuno is an awesome fellow, and he is an incredible human being, in fact, says James. And I'd like to see more of him on the show. Should we have a weekly residency with Nuno? I think that's a great idea. Manuel in the UK, originally from Portugal, I'm guessing. Good morning from UK. Yes, you're a Portugueser, aren't you, Manuel? What are you doing over there in the UK? How's it going? Hugging heels, says Kate, stimulates many organs, and I nearly misread that. Hugging heels stimulates many organs. Yes. Bifana, simply. Homemade part 2. Like the Whispers song, just gets better with time. Mrs. Capricorn 12 keeps my taste buds in Portugal, even when we're not there. Cataplana last night's dinner, very lucky. Yes, pictures, please, Chris. She's treating you to Bifanas over there in the UK. In fact, Manuel might like to know where you live, so he can keep in touch with the food of his homeland. Bifanas and Cataplanas, what do you think? Bifanas, oh, Cataplanas. I'm going to set that to music. Portugal, the musical. Yes, saw a great meme yesterday for those people who criticize musicals and say they're just not realistic. Who on earth just suddenly bursts into song at any given moment? If that's not the case for you, you haven't got the right friends. And I think Portugal, the musical, I think we've got we seem to have stopped writing the erotic novel. And maybe we will resurrect that. But I think Portugal, the musical, could be good, couldn't it? We've already got our first rhyming couplet there of Bifana and Cataplana. James, can you maybe shift the emphasis away from the erotic novel and onto Portugal, the musical? And maybe we'll get your neighbors in to help with that as well. Both my phones are Huawei, generally good. Me too. Father-in-law brought one of his old phones over. I'm a fan of reusing things. Yes, I think I've just got a Huawei phone. And that is the day before. I set it up last night. And the next morning, my cameras mysteriously change. I'm a big hugger, but not a cheek kisser. Oh, nice distinction there. When I greet friends and family, I give a big warm hug and a kiss on the lips there. Oh, my goodness, Deagle. Yes, there are all sorts of variations here and nuances that I suspect more will tell us about. Ribeira Grande is in San Miguel Island in the Açores. Okay, thank you very much for that. Here's the sunset from there. Beautiful from Tony. Tony Madeiros will be sending us. Hold on a minute. I need to take your comment out of the way, Antonio, so that we can see that. Tony has promised to send us more pics. And the pics that he sent us yesterday are in the show blog, which you can find at goodmorningportugal.com as well, where I chuck in a few links that might otherwise go missing in dad jokes and those sorts of things there. Thank you very much, Tony. Really appreciate that and looking forward to more of your pickies coming in. Korea. We're going to talk about this later with Michael. That looks like a great 3-day event. Salida de Porto this weekend. Another, I think it's even longer than 3 days. I thought when they had their Sardinish festival, that was it for Salida de Porto. No, they're gearing up for another festa over at that end of the bay for this coming weekend. So a great weekend to come to San Martino de Porto and Salida de Porto this weekend as well. Carrying on with the comments then. Where's old Heronius Maximus? Oh, hope to be with you soon, he says. Hey, look at this. Just loading up, mate. Had a problem connecting my camera. Ooh. Wrote this about hugs before lockdown, the etiquette of hugs. Well, I mean, you'll feel free to stick that in the chat there, mate. And I might open that up as well and have a little look at that. I didn't expect to be talking about hugs today, but so glad we are. Stephen has an etiquette of hugging blog, which we might have a look at as well. Pippa sent in a video. What's that of, Pippa? Is that safe to air? Or is it one of the more spicy ones that's not for public airing? I'm thinking some of those might not be. Having a quick gander at those. And an hola from somebody sending in a message to me. As yet undisclosed identity. Always interesting when that happens. But Allah to you who sent me a message with your number ending in 851 this morning. Would you care to say more and introduce yourself to me, please? Hugging has always intrigued me, begins this blog then. Excellent stuff. I believe I have successfully. Yeah, there you go. You can read about hugging in there. And I suspect that'll be a holistic view, won't it? With probably with scientific research backing it up as well, if I know Stephen. Geez, King Bayheiros is still going. How old is he? Well, let's find out. I will search for that, Elra. You don't sound like a fan, if you don't mind me saying so. Or maybe just like, oh my God. I listened to King as a kid, and there he is. He's still on the circuit. How about an erotic musical? High notes. Yes. Well, I think there's quite a lot of that's a rich seam. Let me just put it that way. That is a rich seam. The erotic musical. Yep, I'm in. I didn't have to think too much about that. Look at you, Adrian. Your ancestry is quite amazing, isn't it? My mother's Canadian. Lots of float planes used in the summer. So how do you appropriately, so that we understand the etiquette not only of hugs this morning, but how to dismount from our seaplane, our float plane when we land? What happens? Do you throw an inflatable dinghy into the water and then jump into it and paddle towards the shore? That doesn't seem fitting, does it? It seems right that a concierge comes to get you in a motorboat. Is that how that works? They can dock. No, that is not the answer to the Norwegian Navy's. The reason why the Norwegian Navy have barcodes on the sides of their ships. No, I'm going to leave that hanging there. I might ask Michael about that because I think he enjoyed the dad jokes, didn't he, last time he was here? I think most huggers are right arm high. Okay, try this at home. It might depend on right versus left hand dominance. Okay, so yeah, I mean, you could end up doing a high five, and that's what sometimes happens, isn't it? If you're not quite sure, meeting people for the first time. Oh, shake hands, high five, hug. Oh, don't know. Lots of chat club members live in the Algarve. Oh, okay, so it's not a physical one in Alcobaça. People are calling in. I choose Guimarães just for a change. Still love Alcobaça, of course. They call me Yellow Mellow, and I think to Lee as well. Pete's in. A beautiful Bonnie Eve. Oh, just a shout out there to everybody this morning from Pete. Pete! I hug people, says Scandinavian Anna, as soon as I get a chance and feel connections. And I think most people like it. It gives many of us all a positive energy. Okay, are you scanning then while that's happening, Anna? Are you kind of seeing what's going on? Are you giving out a little bit of healing and connection? Are you checking out the energy of the person you're hugging? Who knew? There was so much going on when everyone's hugging each other. And that is why some people don't want to do it. Right? They don't want to have their chakras read with a close encounter of that kind. The family have been pointing out that my culinary skills have been rather aviation based. What, you serve it up in little plastic trays with cling film on top? Hey, reminds me of my holiday. Reminds me of being on EasyJet. Thanks, Dad. Chicken and fish. Oh, okay. Chicken and fish, chicken and fish, chicken and fish. So Mrs. C has taken me on a voyage of cooking discovery lessons. We will answer that question about King during the show this morning. I have to look him up and see what's going on there. But yes, still touring. He's 75 years old. I think I already looked him up. Just retired, dude. Oh, stop it. He's still got lead in his pencil, wind in his sails. Why shouldn't he keep performing, Elra? Clearly not a fan. Portuguese are very reserved, says Adrian. Do you think so? Yes, in some ways, but they still like a hug, right? And self-contained as a whole. Well-behaved and rather formal, around here at any rate. Yeah, I think that's probably more city life, isn't it? This enabled them to regain independence. Rome in 1986 to 1988. Total contrast. Hugging all the time. Barely out of a hug in Rome in 86, 88, by the sound of it, for Adrian there. That's an interesting comment there, Adrian, thinking that the Portuguese are very reserved and self-contained. I understand. I hear you. I get you on that. And I think there is an aspect, certainly, about Portuguese people like that, a certain sense of privacy, but a warmth. And, it's kind of a paradox as well, the Portuguese paradox of great warmth at that same time as well, I would say. Elra, it's safe to say not as old as Cliff Richard. There are younger dinosaurs. Yeah, Cliff's about 175, isn't he? Sarah's in from Stubble. A big hugger is AGL. This is interesting. It's got a few lurkers talking this morning. A big hugger. Older people, especially those living alone, do not receive hugs. I had a friend burst into tears during a massage she received. Oh, AGL. She said it was the first physical touch since her hubby died. Oh, that's so sad to hear. Let's have a whip round for that person. Get him another massage. It's true. As a massage therapist myself, this was something I learned about in my training with the great Sean. Oh, Sean up there in Leeds in the UK. What a fella. And Sean Doherty, I don't know if any of you know him from the massage world, amazing man. And he talked about touch deficit. And for some people, yeah, there's a check and balance, or a ledger, a touch ledger of how much hugging you may or may not have received in your life. And some people need a top up, don't they? Excuse me for a moment. I think I was moved there. It got a bit croaky thinking about this AGL with you, and somebody crying during a massage because they realised it was the first physical touch they'd received. And on that note, you know, this is the problem, isn't it? All that jokey stuff with massage, happy endings, blah de blah, ooh, misses, and you know, I'm the first, aren't I, to make a cheap innuendo or reference. But it's interesting, I think, that we have sexualized touch, haven't we? And that's why I think that's why it is important that hugging, and we have a full spectrum of touch and contact between people. And that is something I think the Portuguese do very well. We'll talk with Heronius Maximus about that. Should he ever arrive, 9:15, no sight of the heron flying into view and just yet. Zay Seed as well. He is from around the area, isn't he? I think Keen Baleros is playing on Zay Seed's manor there at Korea, because I think Zay Seed has got a lovely house in Mogoforish near Korea and Anadia. Zay Seed is 80. Marco Paulo, not Marco Polo, but Marco Paulo, 77. They both still perform, and why shouldn't they? Haha! What music pops in your head at the mention of an erotic musical? I've got Donna Summer. Ooh, I feel good. I feel good. And Michael is thinking, what on earth has happened this morning? My camera's not working for the first bit. And I arrive at talk of an erotic musical and Carl covering Donna Summer, so to speak. Let's bring him onto the screen now. It's Ask Anything About Portugal Wednesday. Our special guest this morning is Michael. Michael Heron, how are you doing this morning?
Good morning. I'm okay after a slight technical hiccup, so apologies for the extremely late and un-Portuguese lack of punctuality.
Nicely done. Nicely done. That's weird. My camera failed as well this morning, and just suddenly. So I don't know. Maybe it's something to do with StreamYard software this morning. Shout out though to the folks at StreamYard who provide this amazing software that allows the likes of myself and Michael to be on the screen at the same time, connecting with all of you, talking about hugging.
In case they're listening, right, and they decide to switch you off, you never know.
It's all good, StreamYard. The bill is paid. You know, come on, don't be like that. Michael, how are you? Tudo bem?
I'm very well. Tudo bem, obrigado. Tudo bem. Graças a Deus. Está tudo bem. Está tudo bem contigo também?
Contigo, sim, muito bem, obrigado. And because, look at this. This is one of the many things I want to talk to you about this morning. We've got some catching up to do, my friend here. Last night, you'll approve of this, because when we spoke last time, we were doing tourism tips, weren't we? How not to get stung. Whilst Portugal, understandably and quite rightly, is turning its attention to the tourist dollar or euro at the moment, you can get caught up in the crossfire of that. And you very kindly gave us a guide to not having that happen for you should you live in Portugal long term. And we talked about restaurants, didn't we? And look at this. My local family out last night, took the in-laws up the road. Sadly, not much food on the table, because at that moment, you're thinking to yourself, this is great. We've got our drinks. We're waiting for our food. We'll take a lovely picture of the food, but the food comes and it's like, no, forget about pictures. This food is great. I'm just going to concentrate on eating food now. And it was fabulous. So I'm so glad to tell you, Michael, I have found my local. It is fantastic. And shouldn't everybody who lives a Portuguese life have a local of this kind? Not a local pub, but a local cafe restaurant where you celebrate all the comings and goings of your family life. Get to know the family. You got one of those?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I don't actually have one. I have one, but it's still in Lisbon, because it's the one that I go to the most. But since the pandemic, unfortunately, obviously turnover of staff in the hospitality industry has been quite high. But I remember back in the day, my favorite chicken place in Lisbon, which I'm sure I've spoken about before on here, called Valenciana. I used to know all the waiters in there. So that was just lovely, because you'd go there and it was just, like everybody knows your name, like the famous cheers expression, right? It's just really lovely. And obviously, because especially I think for Brits, because we don't have the pub culture doesn't really exist in Portugal. So that's kind of the replacement. And it's really nice. It's that community aspect that we don't always find. So it's great. So I'm really happy for you, mate, that you found a local restaurant where you can take family, friends when they visit and whatnot. It's perfect.
Yeah, and the food was superb. Had a lovely evening, a memory-making evening with the
Lovely.
in-laws who are with us at the moment. So that was superb. Let us know. I mean, if anyone's got a local, and in the way that we're talking about here, send us a photo. Do send us a photo, and we'll gladly share that, because I think these businesses need the trade, and they need the publicity. And the thing you were talking about there, the changeover of staff. Gilda was talking about this on Monday, Michael. She's been on holiday in the Algarve. And they're struggling. They haven't got the staff, have they? Or they've got new staff. And this is a real phenomenon that's going on at the moment. And hopefully people will find themselves back in work, and the establishments will get the staff levels they once had, and will return to that sort of level of hospitality and familiarity here in Portugal. How are you seeing that?
Yeah. I mean, you know what? It's a fascinating point. I think for anyone who hasn't worked in the hospitality industry, what a lot of people sometimes don't realize is how difficult it is to maintain consistent customer service. It's so important. So you can have the most beautiful hotel in the world, or the most beautiful restaurant in the world, but if you haven't got a well-trained, reliable workforce and staff that know what they're doing, that everything works, the slightest thing goes wrong, the guest or customer has a bad experience, and they'll never go there again. So I think the challenge for the hospitality industry, just because of the pandemic and other economic challenges, is you have a high turnover of staff, and you lose that well-oiled machine doesn't work. And I think we've spoken about this before, Carl. In Portugal, there is still, although it's less common now, that old school waiter or waitress that have been doing it for years, that are just so good at it. And it's not like in London where waitressing or waitering is seen as like a student job or a job that a foreigner will get when they first arrive until they get something better. Like here in Portugal, there was still a generation that were doing it as a profession. And despite our criticism sometimes of Portuguese customer service in restaurants and hotels, because sometimes it can be a bit slow, you lose that professionalism of the profession by having a high turnover. And it's very noticeable now when you go to the Algarve or when you go to certain restaurants that just don't have that consistency with the staff. So customer service is something that is massively underrated in the hospitality industry, and it's something that you notice when it's lacking.
Yes, that's right. Yes, you notice the absence for sure, don't you? And I think it is a noble profession and a really important one. Yeah,
very underrated, underrated profession as well. Let me tell you, one of my first jobs about 20 years ago was working on the concierge desk of a 5-star boutique hotel in Sevilla. And let me tell you, it's hard work, and it's very demanding work. And also, guests often don't realize everything that goes on behind the scenes to make their stay as comfortable as possible. It's not easy. It's not easy. And I always have huge respect whenever I stay somewhere and I see it working and being professional, because I know how difficult it is to motivate staff as well, right? Because it can be a very difficult job. So, and it's extremely hard work. The hours are very long. You very rarely get a weekend off. I'd say, and I was very respectful of this the first time I stayed somewhere after the first lockdown, was just to be patient, because the hospitality industry needed to recover and get used to providing business again.
Well, I did a shout out this morning for anyone doing shift work and keeping. I mean, we've got Deagle in our community here who is a midwife and working in Belfast, shift work, weekends, all of that. And these are the great people of our society, I think. And I would extend that as well to people in the service industry, making a living, working hard, like you've said. There and in these difficult situations, this circumstances that are coming out of the pandemic. So be patient with folks and love them up a bit, because this is a good question for you this morning. And I've been asked it just recently about tipping in Portugal. Now, of course, the service industry relies, you might think, in some parts of the world on tips. In America, it's very competitive and very well, frightening to think that some people work for an extremely low or no wage sometime and live entirely on tips. And that's why they want to hustle you out of the restaurant and get the next people in. It's the opposite, you could say, in Portugal. You're never hustled out of a restaurant here. You might be in Lisbon or Porto sometimes, but generally speaking, you have to ask for the bill. You go when you're ready. And there comes that moment. Should people tip or not? I think it's right to tip in Portugal. It's not always expected, that said.
Right.
And also, the two things to avoid, I would say, are don't do the handful of change and washers and screws and cable ties you've got in your pocket and leave them on the table just as an afterthought. And don't be ostentatious and flashy. But there is a sweet spot. What do you think that sweet spot is, Michael?
It's a really good question, mate. It's a really good question. I think, well, for one, what I try and avoid doing is if you're paying by card to add your tip on your card payment, because some restaurants don't pass that on to the staff.
Well said.
So always do it in cash, and do it visibly, because that way they share the tips amongst everyone. That's what they should do, unless it's one particular waiter that you think has gone above and beyond, in which case you can do it discreetly and say, here you go, mate, this is just for you. But I would say anything under 5% is a bit embarrassing, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Unless the service has been really bad. And I would say between 5 and 10%, depending on how good the service has been, I think is fair.
Yeah.
But that's just me. I know in Portugal it's not as common. I think even 5% is seen as a lot in some situations, depending on how much you're paying for a meal. But I would say if the service has been good, especially if it's your local, you want to look after these people, man. They're looking after you. They're working really hard. So I would say if it's your local and the service is good, then between 5 and 10%. Obviously, for any American viewer, they will think that's low, because typically in the US you pay between 18 and 22%. But in Portugal, that is not necessary. We can do a whole episode on tipping, maybe, but I'd say taxis never tip because it's included in the fare. You do not need to tip. Hotels, again, it's up to you. But I would say paying for a meal between 5 and 10% is more than enough.
Good to know, because it's embarrassing for the person who doesn't know what to do as well. And going to the other end, I think it can cause a little bit of discomfort if you weigh in with ultimately, I think people are going to be happy, but it can be embarrassing if you give too big a tip and it takes the person by surprise, right? In Portugal, especially when they're not expecting anything.
Do you know what, mate? Though it's one of those things, right, where honestly, like, it's so underappreciated in Portugal, especially when I got here. So I remember I got here in 2014, and I remember one afternoon I took a couple of people out to lunch at the beach, right? And we were there all day. So bearing in mind, we probably spent a good one. It was about €100, maybe a bit more, and it was about 120, I think, in the end. So I gave the guy a tenner. And he was like astounded. And then this is less than 10%. And then at the end of the afternoon, as we were leaving, I asked him for a cold bottle of water, and he gave it to me. And I said, how much is that? And he said, I can't charge you. And I said, why? He said, because you gave me the biggest tip of the day.
Wow.
And I thought, my God, and to me, that wasn't like an extravagant thing to do. You've been waiting on us all day. This is one of these beaches where you've got the service to the sand, right? Because you've got one of these, fixed parasols and whatnot. So for me, it was like the decent thing to do. This guy's been waiting on us all day, €10, and that's not even 10%. And he was like, no, this is the biggest tip I've had all day. I'm not charging you for this water. So, I think just do it instinctively. Just do it instinctively, and know that the services industry in Portugal is quite underpaid. So if you can afford to tip well, it will be appreciated.
Very good. Okay, so roughly speaking, then 10%. None of the
between 5 and 10. Between 5 and 10.
Okay.
Yeah. Five I think is the minimum, unless the service has been really bad, right? Yes. If the service has been really bad, I mean, don't
leave anything. Yeah, absolutely.
Don't leave anything. Yeah, don't leave anything if the service has been bad. So
okay, great question that's coming from Virginia earlier on. Virginia Larson. Bon dia, what are appropriate thank you gifts to bring from the US to give to hosts and others that give assistance? Now, this is along a similar sort of theme, isn't it? And a great question, and I think others will chip in with this. We'll return to restaurants and service and tips and so on in the course of our conversation today. Michael Heron with me until 10 o'clock this morning. Michael Heron, of Avanlight, of course. And what do you think? What do you make of this question about bringing something from the US? I think it's a nice touch, and I think it's quite American as well. I've noticed the kindness of Americans wanting to come over and give you a little gift. Something American's nice, I would say. Something from the old place, something you might not be able to find easily here, something a bit unusual. What comes to mind for you, Michael? Not a pair of five ones.
I think what you said is bang on. I think it's more about the act and intention behind the gift and the gift itself, right? So, for example, I remember years ago, one of my friends from Canada came to visit, and he brought me a huge tin of maple syrup, right?
Yes, of course.
Which that particular brand you can't get in Portugal. So I was over the moon. I was so excited because like finally I could put proper syrup on my pancakes when I make pancakes. So I think, like you said, something that originates from the culture or from your city or something like that is always going to be really appreciated, because I think that the host will appreciate the fact that you've pre-thought the gift that you're bringing from home is always a nice touch.
It's not something hastily grabbed from duty free as an afterthought. No. You've clearly thought about it. If you bring something from your hometown, which is a lovely thing to do. So Virginia, that's a question back at you then. What is traditional where you're from where you're asking the question? Great to have you here, and thank you for that question this morning. I want to share with you, Michael, as well. In my opinion, Stephen Wells might have said something controversial. Sometimes people feel the need to say that, don't they? In my opinion, if they've been a little bit heavy. We'll come back to that. I have another picky to show you. So there was that lovely meal last night, but earlier on in the day, I met up with the Jerry and Astrid from Expats Portugal, the team. We had a team meeting, and we meet because it's equidistant for us. The hotel, the Sana, I think it's called, in the center of Caldas da Rainha. And I want to share this because sometimes people say, Portuguese food's a little bit too rustic and plain and simple. And there's not much of this kind of highbrow, high cuisine thing going on. Look at this, Michael. This is what I was served yesterday. That is tuna. It was on a beautiful plate, as you might expect from Caldas da Rainha, the great ceramics city of Portugal, among its many other claims. Ceramic dildos, everything is ceramic in Caldas da Rainha. No, I'm not kidding. Anyone who's been here have that in their minds. But this is a seared tuna, I would say, and it had been stewed in seaweed, I believe. You've got some rounded carrots there, I believe, on top that have dipped in sesame seeds, some micro herbs, some little kind of pea shoot things, and those segments of orange, Michael, they had a heat to them, a chili heat to them.
Wow.
That was one hell of a meal. It was really good.
Wow.
And a little bit different, from your normal grill, traditional Portuguese food. Really trying hard. I would commend anybody to go there. And that's it. The Lisbonense menu for the year there. That was the not peito de frango, the seaweed braised tuna, pumpkin pressed in soy sauce, creamy, what's that? Creamy violet, sweet potato, and tangerines in chili sauce. The dessert, Michael, a flan invertido de chocolate branco y coco con sorbet de frambuesa, the white chocolate and coconut inverted flan. It was that was so amazing. There was not a flan to be seen. It was like deconstructed flan.
Wow.
And the flavors, the presentation. I'm again, I was distracted by the delight of eating it, such that I didn't remember to take a photo. But let me commend to you Lisbonense there. I think it's about 20 odd for a 2-course.
That's pretty good, man.
When you look at the quality of that food.
Yeah.
Have you heard this, that sometimes people criticize Portuguese food for being a little bit too?
They're completely mistaken. I mean, you've got a lot of high-end Portuguese cuisine now. There's more and more Michelin star restaurants, Michelin recommended restaurants that do high-end Portuguese cuisine or Portuguese fusion with French and other countries. So I would say, it tends to be more common in the big cities like Lisbon and Porto, but don't think that Portuguese cuisine is limited to your rustic, wholesome, high volume, homemade kind of like cooking, which is great, and that exists
What's wrong with
everywhere.
that? Yeah.
But you have nothing wrong with that. But you have, I mean, so for me, one of the best chefs in the world is Jose Aviles. He has a number of restaurants. The best one is Belcanto in Lisbon, which is extremely expensive, but it's absolutely fantastic. And then you have a number of other great options that he has all over the country, which are more affordable. And you will get, that perfect combination of high quality Portuguese food, but done in that elegant style that you so wonderfully showed from that hotel, and that's extremely common now.
Yeah.
So anyone that thinks otherwise hasn't been out there and experienced it. And I think Portugal is fortunate that I think let's not forget with cooking, there is an underrated art of just having great quality produce and cooking simple, wonderful food, which Portugal does so well. However, it can compete at the very top with the high-end cuisine as well. So you can get the best of both worlds here.
And the name of that chef, mate? Tell us again.
Jose Aviles. Jose Aviles. So you have a number of restaurants. He has it's called Cantina de Aviles. There's a number of those restaurants in Lisbon and Porto. And then there's another restaurant he has in Lisbon called Teatro Minibar, which is really fun if you want to have a night out and go somewhere that's a little bit more out there. That's really fun. That's really great. He has a pizza place in Lisbon as well, which is fantastic. And his signature restaurant is Belcanto, which is unbelievable. If you get the chef's table, you will have an experience you will never forget. And he will talk to you. Yeah, I did that a couple of years ago, and it's really worth it. He's a lovely guy, super humble. He's just focused on delivering outstanding food every day. So definitely worth checking him out. Sure.
Brilliant. Thank you very much indeed. Great to have you here this morning. So that you and I know, lots of comments to cover here. Thank you everybody for your contributions this morning. We were talking about float planes, seaplanes. When we get ours, Michael, when we go on tour and we fly into a lake or reservoir in Portugal, you tie up at the dock. I thought you threw out an inflatable or something and paddle to the shore, have a concierge come and get you. But no, we'll tie our seaplane up at the dock. That's what we need to do. Thank you, Adrian, for pointing that out to us. We were talking about old rockers here in Portugal. King Barreiros is still on tour. Mick Jagger is 79 years old and still touring, I believe. This is where the original comment came from. In Korea, on the 12th, 13th and 14th of Agosto, the Yankees, Gonzalo Tavares and King Barreiros, just peaking above the any questions for Michael Heron about Portugal or Portuguese life there. He's 75, apparently. There's going to be Leitão. There's going to be Espumante. Again,
I mean, that's another underrated element of Portuguese cuisine, the Leitão, man. The Leitão is unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
Head to that part of the Bairrada district of Portugal, a region of Portugal. Have some of their fairs. That is so underestimated globally. I think Amelie's got a question for us about shipping wine in Portugal, possibly. But at the Parque de Morendas, you can get there by train. If you go to Korea train station, their Parque de Morendas is right next to the railway line. So that looks like a lot of fun. Suckling pig and Espumante, Portuguese style. They will come back to King in a little while, no doubt. The image I have of old Portuguese matches Adrian's perception. We are very reserved and private, even among families. Seems like the new generations are more touchy and open, or touchy-feely, I think that is, and open to strangers. So this was a little theme that was developing before you joined us, talking about hugging. You and I hug, don't we, when we meet? I think you're new school, not old school. 3 to 6 hugs per day to get by, 10 to 12 to thrive, science research says. That's interesting. Thank you for that, James. So which begs the question then about, are Portuguese people reserved and private, or are they huggy, and do they want to kiss you on both cheeks? And what is the right thing to do? Michael, when we first met, you talked about Portuguese culture, and I think we talked about this. Tell me.
I mean, this links us perfectly to what we were going to talk about later on, because when England won the Euros on Sunday, Prince William broke protocol and hugged a lot of the female players. So if the future king of England can hug people, then there's no excuse. I think we should all be hugging. Okay. Yeah. So my view is hug away.
All right. And but in relation to Portuguese life and Portuguese culture, I did think there was a kind of Portuguese paradox there, that there is a privacy and reservedness that you have to work with. And Portuguese friendship is about that not breaking down, but people becoming less private and reserved. That's how I understand Portuguese friendship works. You know, you will have a lovely time.
They take their time, man. They take their time. It's like a fine wine that needs to be, slowly, allowed to mature. I think a Portuguese friendship, when you have a Portuguese friendship, it's probably more authentic than a lot of other friendships because it takes time. Because, like we've spoken about before, I've lived here 8 years. The amount of times I've been invited to a Portuguese household for a meal, I could count on all my fingers.
Yeah.
It just doesn't happen very often. But it's also, the Portuguese are a lot more family oriented and private amongst each other as well. So it's just one of these things that it shocks foreigners, especially if you've been used to living in another southern Mediterranean country like, say, Spain or Italy, where people are, or Brazil, where people are far more open, and the Portuguese are not like that. And you have to respect it. They just take their time. But once you've made a Portuguese friend, I mean, you have one for life. So yeah, they're a bit more reserved. They want to get to know you, and they're probably not gonna invite you around their house anytime soon. But that's fine. It's just you have to adapt. You have to respect the local culture. I would say though, that I think, and I'm being respectful when I say this, I hope, is that much like other countries, and perhaps the UK is the only one like Portugal, because other countries it tends to be inverse, is that the further north you go, the more friendly people are.
Controversy.
Whereas like the UK, and whereas in Spain it tends to be the other way around. So yeah, I'd say there are regional variations with this, but
very interesting. Talking of regional variations in the UK, James is asking, are Michael and Sarah from Spartan FX from the same area of England? I just noticed how similar their accents are. I think they're both posh, basically. So that's
not posh at all. I'm from Norfolk. I'm a farmer, mate. So there's no way I can be posh. Where is Sarah? From?
I think Sarah's home counties, and by that I mean for those who might not be familiar with that phrase, that is the counties around London.
Yeah,
that's certainly where she lives, and that's where I would place her. But she might come from out in the sticks like Michael does as well, and there might be a mixture of a sort of modern cosmopolitan accent mixed with
Norwich can be quite neutral, I guess. So there's that neutral accent in the UK, isn't there? Which
yes, that's right.
You can't really identify with anywhere. But then if I'm talking to someone from Norfolk, they recognise that my accent is from Norwich after a bit. Yeah. Okay. It's a very subtle thing.
Okay, so going back to the other question then, if you're to arrive with a gift from your part of the world to share with your new friends in Portugal, what would you be bringing from Norfolk?
There's a lot of things I could be bringing from Norfolk. I could bring Coleman's mustard.
Oh, excellent!
Because that's what's made there. And in fact, there are other products from Coleman's that maybe aren't as typical that you can get abroad, such as the powder
or Piccadilly
powder. Yeah. If I was feeling particularly cruel and wanted to embarrass someone, I'd bring them a Norwich shirt or something to do with Norwich City. Yeah. My goddaughter loved that on her communion.
Yeah.
I got her a Norwich shirt, which has been subsequently passed down each generation because nobody wants to wear it, including my son now. He doesn't want to wear it either. So yeah, I'd probably something made in Norfolk. So probably Coleman's mustard.
Coleman's mustard. I think that is a global brand. Excellent stuff. Thank you for asking that, James. Elra says, and we love this. Every Portuguese knows all the waiters of the local restaurant, and you'll see this, won't you? The regulars come in. They'll always they'll be helped out. They'll get a table, won't they? The staff will make it work for them. I love seeing that. I love that familiarity. And there's something of the appreciation of the food as well. So there'll be talk, won't there, about what's special, even though everyone knows everyone. It's like, what's special today? Is there a new wine in? And there'll be a real sense of appreciation of the process that's about to happen. And I really love that as well. And so, the talk will be passionate. and it will be involved, and there will be that great friendship between a great balance of friendliness and professionalism, I think, is what I'm alluding to there. Stephen Wells still talking about hugging protocol. Now, going back to the Portuguese and hugging, whilst you say you might not be invited to somebody's home because that is a private part of their life, and you're more likely to entertain out and about. Even though you've said that, and you might have to work for the friendship, you're still going to get a kiss on both cheeks, aren't you, on the first meeting sometimes? How does that work, Michael?
Yes, well, it's a kiss on both cheeks, and it's left to right.
Oh, simple. Okay, so no one need be confused about that. That is the way to do it when it first happens to you. If you're not from a kissing culture, a complete stranger, somebody you're meeting, and this might even be in a professional situation. You might be going to meet a solicitor, lawyer, and you might kiss.
Some women. So if I meet a woman in a professional manner, then it can vary. They may automatically assume, because I look Northern European, that I will feel more comfortable doing a handshake.
Yes.
So it just depends, really. But yeah, normally the normal thing is to do 2 kisses, left to right.
Your left or their left? That's where it gets confusing.
So your left.
Okay.
Your left with the right side of your cheek.
Yes.
To their left side.
And the third one is like a power play, isn't it? If you do that, it's like I've traveled all over Europe.
The third one is then embarrassing, and make sure you do 2. You don't want to do 1 and leave them hanging for the second one. The French do 4, I believe. So
right, okay. Yeah, of course they do.
Yeah.
Michael, cafe culture is strong in Portugal, and we have an amazing local with free drinks when you lose a European Cup final. Blooming men. Yeah, let's talk about that for a moment. So you're pleased to see the ladies triumphant. They think it's all over. It is Frau. I think a great seam of comedy was available too. Lots of light hearts and merriment around the English ladies' victory. What did you make of that?
I thought it was fantastic. The women showing the men how it's done, literally.
Yes. Yeah.
And in terms of everything.
Yeah.
The win, the way they won, the difficulty of the match that they won, because they were playing a German team that are by far the most successful in European ladies football. So they were by far the favourites. And what I enjoyed the most was the press conference by one of the players before, where she confessed that a lot of the English men's players were messaging them trying to get tickets. And she was like, sorry, lads, it's sold out. And then also trying to give them advice. And it's like, hang on a second, lads, you guys lost the final last year. You're the last team we're going to listen to. But you know what? What was great was the last few minutes that were particularly nervy. They had a clear strategy, which was just keep the ball by the corners so that the German players couldn't do anything. And you could see the German players getting really frustrated, like kicking out, and just the calmness by these players, man, these English players was just amazing. And also, like, there are a lot of wonderful individual stories. So you had Chloe Kelly, who scored the winning goal. That's her first goal in international football ever.
Wonderful.
You had Jill Scott, who was playing her 10th major tournament. She's 35. She was actually awarded an MBE a couple of years ago, so I was really happy for her. And then you've got players like Lucy Bronze, who is a right back who plays for Barcelona. So she is like one of the best players in her position in the world. You know, we have a Dutch coach, Serena Wiegman, I think she's called, who won the Euros with the Netherlands in 2017, I believe, and was runner-up in the World Cup in 2019. So proving that a foreign coach can be successful if she knows what she's doing.
Yeah.
And I just love the fact that she was so calm. Even her celebrations were calm. I loved it. And I could see the German coach, you know, when they do like their huddle before extra time.
Yeah.
And I could see they were all pumped up. But I was quietly confident that we were going to win, because I could just see the Dutch coach and the rest of our coaching staff. They were completely calm. And for me, what for me is stands out about this whole win is these women. They're not superstars. They are now, but they weren't superstars. They haven't got inflated egos. The top paid English player earns £200,000 a year, which is what Harry Kane earns in a week.
Mm-hmm.
So these women have a more a deeper connection with the fans than the men do. Obviously, it's not the men's fault; they get paid so much. But it reminds me a little bit of maybe what it would have been like when we won the World Cup in '66, where
Yes.
you would see footballers more integrated into their local communities because they're earning similar wages to some of the fans in the stadium. So I think all of this together, and then Prince William breaking protocol to hug a lot of the players, for me was just the icing on the cake. So I thought it was fantastic. So I think the men can learn a lot, and the fans can learn a lot about how the crowd conducted itself compared to the awful scenes last summer. So
Yeah.
I think there was a lot of positives. I think.
Well said. Great response. Thank you for that. And he's talking about 1966,
Yes.
not 1066 or
No.
60.
Other
Other notable dates in the British historical calendar there. Adrian, thank you very much for that, Michael. The fine self-contained reserve of most Portuguese enabled them, like other Iberian peoples, to regain independence from 1640, from 60 years of Castilian kings exploiting a Catalan rebellion. So it's a quiet determination, I think, that's reflected in the reserve you're talking about there that brought that about. Thank you, Adrian, for that history. In Coimbra, meetups in Coimbra, anybody? Adrian's over that way. If you've got a sense of history, you're going to love Coimbra, of course. I have 2 questions in case I ever get there. Yes, Emily, good luck with the process. 1, can I buy Portuguese wines and ship Portuguese wine as a gift back to Korea without it costing a fortune? And will a Google Pixel 6 work in Portugal? Could we answer either of those, Michael? They're quite specialist, aren't they?
Yeah, that's extremely niche. I mean, my knowledge of importation tariffs on Korea and presumably South Korea is not my strongest point. What I will say though is, funny enough. What I will say though is, you have to be careful with things like this, because even if you FedEx something, then you have to declare what's inside, and you're going to get heavily taxed on alcohol. So my advice, although officially, is if you are flying to Seal from Lisbon, Amelie, is to stick a few bottles of wine in your suitcase.
Yeah.
That would be the best way of bringing wine back, because otherwise it's going to be expensive to import it. You're going to have to pay customs tax once the product has been declared. That's what happens now in Portugal. If you're shipping anything from the UK, oh my God, it's ridiculous.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that answer. I've got a little resource to share with you. I love these guys. It's a collaboration. I think we'll have them on the show at some point. But it is Mosto, which is I believe in Lagos, a beautiful wine shop in Lagos, and they work with the Glug Club, which is a bit of a giveaway about what it's about.
Yeah.
But sommelier selected wines each month, Portuguese style. And I want to bring this onto the screen just to show you quickly. You, Michael, as well, you might be interested in this. It's a membership club that has just come onto my radar. There's a wine box that gets shipped, I think, Iberian Peninsula, not just Portugal, but Spain as well. Yeah, free shipping in Portugal and Spain. They would be a good place to start, Amelie, whether they would export to the rest of the world, because they would know if anyone does. And you might come up against what Michael's talking about. It becomes prohibitively expensive, but worth a try with these people. And look at that. The Glug.club is a wine club. We've just started our Good Morning Portugal wine club, of course, again. And we're going to talk to these guys on one of the shows, and we'll probably bring them in on the morning show as well. So that is nicely done, stylish looking website, the Glug Club, and it's part of the Mosto wine shop, which I urge you to look up as well. So, Amelie, that's that part of it. As for a Google Pixel 6, I mean, if it's an unlocked phone, it's gonna be okay. The one my father-in-law gave me on his visit here is an unlocked Huawei phone. It works. I think that's the key differentiator, isn't it? It must be unlocked, and get it unlocked in the country of origin, I think, is a whole lot easier as well.
Exactly.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Any phone will work, like you said, providing it's not locked and you can put any SIM card in there, then you'll be fine.
Yeah. And I would have thought Google would have made their phones unlockable and, you know, transferable to any context. It's your data they want, so they're not going to make that difficult for them or for you. I don't suppose.
Allegedly.
Yes, so, yeah, no, it's a matter of public record, isn't it? Bon dia alegria. It's Huawei we're not sure about. Bon dia alegria, aka Sarah Smith, aka Nom de Plume as well. Good morning to you.
Bon
Going
dia.
back to service staff, people always think hotel staff are only there to smile and hand out keys. You have no idea. This is what you were saying earlier on, wasn't it?
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Okay.
It's a massively underrated profession.
Yeah, Pixel 6 sold in Portugal, so they work here. As to the wine, for sure, it will cost more to ship than the wine costs. Yes, very good chance of that here.
I mean, that, you know, you should have asked Antonio. That was the perfect answer.
Deagle, my favorite restaurant in Albufeira, eating it for 25 years. So he lives in Belfast, but he's got his local in Albufeira. How about that? Lane Gaza, a family-run business, and that's another beautiful thing about Portuguese restaurants. They are often family-run.
You know, especially with people from the UK, we're very set in our ways. So this is why we like repeat holidays, and we like feeling comfortable knowing we found somewhere abroad where we spend our holidays or where we live that we trust and we enjoy it. So, you know, it's a bit like the pub thing, isn't it? So it's like people stay loyal to their pub, their local, or to their barber. You know, we're very loyal when we're treated well. And I think, you know, this is something that is, you know, I think the hospitality industry gets that, which is why they like British tourists, because in general we behave and we, you know, we enjoy being looked after, and we'll you know, compensate you with good tipping and you know, lots of business. So I think
support the local businesses. You couldn't wish for a better local business than a family-run restaurant, right? You are doing 100%. Something. And I imagine a lot of their sourcing is local as well. So it's very different to paying up at a chain restaurant where all the profits are going to some distant HQ. This is the way to stimulate a local economy, I think. Eat in the family restaurants and create a relationship like that. 25-year relationship. Fantastic. Elra says, Carl, change is actually okay. I meant, you know, the sort of cursory, oh, I better give a tip and just a few coppers. I think that can be a little bit insulting sometimes. But sure, if it adds up to 10%, if it's in change, no problem with that. But thank you for that correction there, Elra. Comes in handy. If not the business, always exchange it at the bank. Okay, that's good to know. I've seen in the Algarve, some people have left hospitality to go into the building trade, delivery drivers, etc. People want their weekends and evenings off, of course. We do miss some of the staff at our locals. So
I used to get a weekend off every 6 weeks when I worked in hospitality, and let me tell you, you know, it drains your soul. You have to really enjoy it, and you have to work somewhere where you know, you have a good team and a culture, because it's extremely hard work. And not just the fact that, I mean, there are plenty of professions that have to work a lot of weekends, but it's everything combined. It can be extremely, extremely stressful. So always respect people that work in that industry, because you don't know their story and, you know, why they're doing it, and, you know, you should look after them.
And the tip in the hotel room, you mentioned it briefly before, but it's nice to leave some money in the room as well, isn't it? That must be nice
for the people that turn over your room. Always nice to leave a few coins on the pillow. They really appreciate that. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. I always tip, says AGL, if you want to know, I respect you and thank you for your service. I want you to know I respect you and thank you for your service. I do cash as well. I work through school as a waitress and a hotel room. So there's somebody who knows in the same way. I left €2 on a €20 bill and the waiter was genuinely happy with it. US, that would be an insult. Yeah, you were saying earlier on, Gene, sorry, I lost that comment. But 20%, I think, where you live. Over there in the States. I always tip in restaurants. It's like when someone thanks you in your job, you're all made up. Absolutely. There's a lack of a vegan option, says Adrian, let alone a xerophagic option. Well, I imagine you would get a blank look if you did ask for a xerophagic option in most restaurants. That's vegan without the oil. Now, talking of niches, that is one in accordance with Orthodox Christian strict fast day requirements. 100,000 people plus and growing. How would that work in Portugal? A dry salad?
I tell you what, I'm glad this has come up, because I meant to mention it, and perhaps we don't have time today, but I would love for you to get someone on who's a vegan in Portugal, because I get asked this a lot. I have some friends who are vegan. who visit Portugal and they want to know where they can eat that's a good restaurant that's vegan, or where they can buy vegan products. Because unlike in the UK, most supermarkets don't have a dedicated vegan aisle like they do now in the UK. You have to go to a specialist shop, which can be quite expensive. So if anyone who watches is vegan, or maybe would even like to come on to your show, I think that would be a great theme to do, because I imagine there's a lot of people that, especially from the US as well, it's a more common diet now. I think that would be really interesting.
We do touch on it from time to time, but you're right, a special would be very good. And on that note, Michael, it's 10 o'clock. The time flies when we're chatting, doesn't it?
Wow.
And I imagine you need to go into the big city or do some work, some proper work now.
Yeah, I was hoping to have the first 2 weeks of August off, but sadly I am still working this week. But from next week, I will be off for 2 weeks.
Oh, where are you going? Anywhere special?
Not really. No, I'm going to stay. Well, I'm going to stay in Lisbon. Well, I'm going to stay in my area next week, but I'm just enjoy going to my local beach and just having fun. And then I'm going to Porto the 3rd week of August.
Oh, good for you, mate. So good to talk to you. Thank you for being here this morning. Really appreciate it.
Sorry for my late start, but always a pleasure. And see you all next month.
Yeah, back on the first Wednesday of the month. So we look forward to seeing you again in September. My goodness, I mean, where did July go? And we'll be saying the same thing, I'm sure, in September. See you there, mate. Lots of love to the family and your local restaurant. Ciao, ciao.
Bye, ciao. Bye, guys. Everyone, ciao.
There he goes, Michael Heron. I think I need to stick around for a little while, because typically when Michael and I start chatting, it stimulates other thoughts from the community here. So let's see what's going on. I imagine there'll be a few vegan recommendations as well. Adrian, very interesting topic that you're bringing in there. Vegan without oil as well. My first job was driving a taxi. Anyone who ever worked for tips understands that. And you sent in a lovely picture of the produce at the Fuseta market, I believe. Look at this. This delighted you, I think, last time you were in Portugal. Jean, there you go. A lovely... Oh, look at that! Estrela dos, one of the shops in the background there, but in the foreground, look at that lovely, fresh and colourful produce. That is a great market stall. Thank you very much. You can find these all over Portugal. That's wonderful. Thank you very much. On with the comments then, as we conclude today, the day when we decided we might launch what's this? I'm getting a phone call coming through. Sorry, beg your pardon there. The day we launched our erotic musical. How about that? And so, James, I hope you've got a few leads from, or a few inspirations from the show. The muse might have visited you from some of the things that were said. Fixed parasol. That sounded painful, didn't it, when Michael said that earlier on? If you've got a fixed parasol, I'm sure Serenity can help with that, or Doc Thompson when he's back. I was told that rounding up on the meal check is standard. So generally with a 12.20 meal, 80 tip is acceptable, also considering the circumstances, as Michael said. Thank you, James, for that. Bovril, the perfect gift if you're coming from the UK. Controversial, though. Bovril is a bit of a Marmite condiment, you could say. 20% is the minimum around here, even if the service isn't superb. Everyone is entitled to a bad day once in a while. Maybe they are new. Thanks, G. Yeah, and sometimes you can see that, can't you? I like to do that, even if the performance hasn't been brilliant. If someone's tried hard and they're new, it is nice to say, welcome to the world of service. We saw your intent, even if the execution wasn't perfect. I always bring local nice dish towels or luggage tags. Fun, useful, and light to pack. Thank you, Amelie, for that. Just got here, Joao F. Didn't have the chance to read all the comments yet, but about hotel and restaurant staff, I can only say this. Serving others is not a minor job. It's only for the good ones. Well said, Joao F. Very welcome here this morning. Good to see you, mate. And happy to introduce delicious xerophagic menus. 3 good cookbooks on my shelf in English. Very successful when trialed for World Vegan Day in 2018. Crisis Cafe, Aldgate, London. Xerophagic Fast Day. Thank you very much for all of that, Adrian. I don't think we found you a Coimbra meetup yet. I haven't tasted decent citrus since I left the Algarve, says Jean. And I got spoiled really quick over here in Portugal. I think you're talking about there. Zé Avanlight is the name of the chef that Michael referred to. Thank you for that and putting that into the chat there. Michael, my offer to make an English break. Oh, I didn't get that to him on time. You probably got his direct number. So that'll make his day. Let him know about that. He's on holiday for 2 weeks. He might want to pop over to yours for a full English. Melo Yellow, verdad, realmente. There, not sure what that's referring to, but nice use of the Portuguese. And Adrian again. I've got the local vegan restaurant to prepare xerophagic dishes. Never found it on menus here. I challenge you to add these options to the menu. Will also help people with oil intolerances. Yes, understood. Thank you very much. Quite frankly, I prefer nom de plume. It is so beautiful. There you go, de la Burka. And last few comments then for this morning. Don't forget, it's the social webinar, Portugal Calling webinar tomorrow night at 7:30. Hank and Connie and Hank. Stalika will be joining us talking about their whole experience of moving to Portugal. Good morning, Mr. Carl. The news about the new procedures permit residency self-employment. Embalages Ramadan. Mondays for that, please. Come back on Monday or just reach out directly to EI, to A. Assessoria Imigratoria, Gilda and team, if you need to know more there. I am not the expert on that. I love talking to Gilda and to Christina, and you should too, talking about the new residency permits. It's been passed. If you're talking about the digital nomad one, it has been, it is law, but it's yet to filter through into operation. Monkey virus is rife in Spain. Saw an awful picture of a guy covered in it on the YouTube who didn't realize how transmissible it was. Well, thank you for that, you barrel of laughs this morning, Pete. Michael does the extra finger and webbing giveaway. Pete. Hello, Michael. Missing you, bro. Just to give you a booming news from Adriel Rodriguez Oliveira. We learned how to extract electricity from mushrooms, and we will go to teach it for everyone for free. Check it out this morning. New website, Shimajito. Great to see you, Adriel. It's a long time since we spoke. I love this. Free electricity from mushrooms. Have a look at that. Shimajito.com. Fantastic. Kim Barreros was playing at Setúbal as well. He's on tour at the moment, isn't he? On the 7th. Quite a varied lineup here, from Expensive Soul to King there, Portuguese legend. To the Portuguese, friendship comes with trust and takes time to build. Friendship without trust does not really exist. Well said, Joel F. In Portuguese terms, that would rather be just an acquaintance. Nicely put. Thank you for that. Family and friends are very different things, says James. Which cheek face? Not surprised to hear you say that, Pete. That's right. One conocido acquaintance is someone we know, talk with, etc., but don't feel it's enough to invite him or her to our home. Thank you for that clarification, Antonio. Not men. What's this? Not kissing men. Women may give you kisses at first encounter. Okay, so it's the women that would lean forward. So a bit like what James was saying about the first hug should be like a may I, rather than just going straight in. Same with the kissing here by the sound of it. So let the woman kiss you. On a left and a right there, as Michael pointed out. Sorry, but I have to go prepare for a British Standards Institution BSI training session. Oh, my goodness. Does it get any more exciting than that, Adrian? 11 till 12, as I'm still technically on their accessibility committee. Wow, history grad amongst the techies. Nice one. Good to have you here, Adrian, this morning. Thanks for all your contributions. Women's football, where they get back up straight after a tackle rather than roll around like toddlers. They are showing the fellas how to do it, right? Serena camped next to... Oh, okay. Thank you for that. Love listening to Michael's take on the friendship thing, says Louise. I had the opposite with someone in the north. They assumed I would want to stay over when I visited. A bit too much for me on a first meeting. But that's a lovely little insight there about what the north-south thing. I expressed this, and she said that's the norm to open up your home like that in Portugal. So certainly in the north. Jess, a shift worker. A shout out to all the shift workers, including you. Jess. Yeah, thank you, Stephen and Pete, for pointing that out. If you know Kuwudu, you'll see the English women's football connection right there. An amazing meet, coincidence for Phil and Lady K. Fortuitous that the best two German players were unavailable. One English player, Lucy Bronze, has a Portuguese dad. Difficult if mixed origin to work out to support. Not taking it too seriously there. Adrian's. I thought he was going off for a meeting. He couldn't resist it, could he? Hola, Joao. Getting my bank documents ready for submission for my D7 should be soon. Looking forward to being back in Portugal. Nice one. The Glug Club that I mentioned. There's the link, everybody. And the Vineyard we picked for last year won the best red in Asia and is freely available in Korea. So some are shipping already. You might not have to do it yourself. The Koreans, perhaps, cultivating a taste for Portuguese wine. So things are looking up there on that front. Nice one, Pete. Thank you for that. I'm a bit reserved, too reserved, for especially when we have yet to meet in person and only met online. We'll have to get used to it, says Louise. My camera's gone again. I haven't touched anything. I do not know what happened there. I might have to do the rest of the show like this. No, are we back? I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it through the vibrating porthole. Tom West says, could you comment on inflation energy bills in Portugal? Going through the roof in the UK. It is going up in Portugal, but not quite as fast as the UK, is all I can say in the remaining time that we've got, Tom West. Join us again, won't you? Or ask the question on the forum, expatsportugal.com/community. You'll get a lot of feedback there about people's actual experience in Portugal. My family will be moving in 2023, 2023. Good for you. Nice one, Tom West. Thank you for joining us. And look, there's that unflattering view again that's come back. I've got two cameras. That's my laptop camera. And the other one is not showing up. So let me just disconnect and reconnect as it suggests. And we'll see if that, if I have to do the rest of the show like this. Oh, no, I don't. Here we go. There you go. That should be better now. How weird and how spooky is that. I think the camera's coming back. Yeah, there we go. And we'll try Glug when I get there, if I get there. Come on, don't be like that, Emily. You're on your way. Keep thinking positive thoughts about Portugal. If you don't bring the phone provider unlocked, you'll have to go to an Indian Pakistani shop to unlock it, says Santo. So unlocking is possible here in Portugal at the independent outlets. If you use a diplomatic address if you can, no tax. Did this when I worked in conjunction with an honorary consulate in Greece. Never any tax. When wrote care of and entirely legal, may only work for parcels. Oh, I see. That's for shipping your wine, not for a general lifestyle tip there. Actually, always found Brits the worst type of client. Must be just me. Oh, Elra. Just chucking that in towards the end of the show there. Haircuts are $7.50, says James, and I leave 10, rounding up the nearest bill, paper cash. Yeah, look after your barber. Happy Cow app on supermarkets are big on vegan food now. Thank you for that, Louise, as well. That's brilliant. I've been vegetarian, says Emily, for almost 20 years, about 95% vegan. Hard to give up cheese. Okay, Emily, when you get to Portugal, Barbara is both surprised and happy for my tip. Who doesn't like us? I'm not going to go there this morning. Adrian just cannot tear himself away from the show with his xerophagic recommendations this morning. Never in my life did I expect to hear that on the show, but thank you for being here and including that, Adrian. And Love Chat XYZ is here, everybody, who I think needs banning again. Let's block that user. One little message is fine, but come on, don't blitz us with all that nonsense. They've got no manners, have they? St. Vladimir's Seminary Press. This is getting more and more specialist, Adrian. I thought you had a British Standards Institute meeting to go to. Thank you. I think this is ideal for the forum, Adrian. This sort of niche knowledge. There are people who do want this, and if you would dare to go to expatsportugal.com/community and post up your vegan resources, I think people will love you for that. Periscope up, Carl. Final thought of the day with my camera problems. Thank you, everybody. A ciao, ciao for Michael from Deagle. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Nice chat this morning. Very good. Thanks for all your input. Thanks for all the questions for Michael. We'll see you tomorrow morning with Wiley. Wiley talking to us from Cascais, Estoril, can talk to you about buying property in that part of Portugal and generally the process of buying property in Portugal. Thanks for your images that have come in this morning as well. Really appreciate all of those. Keep them coming on 913-590-303. So, até amanhã, adiós, até próxima. You know how to whistle, don't you? Let's go out with our outro now. Have a great day in Portugal, dear friends, and we'll see you in the morning. Ciao, ciao.